In his letter to Secretary Kissinger, Mr. Agnew was direct. Quote, I hereby resign the office of Vice President of the United States, effective immediately.
Daily Flashback was this day in 1973 when Spiro Agnew became just the second vice president in U.S. history to resign. Less than an hour after Agnew's resignation became official, he pleaded no contest to the criminal charge of federal income tax evasion, which of course had actually nothing to do with the entire Watergate scandal. That just percolated in the middle of all that. Well, the campaigns are on the ground fighting for votes in key swing states like Ohio, Virginia, and Florida. Flova, as we like. The fight on the airwaves that's going on, too, with the campaign, spending millions on ads just like these.
Victims. Dependent. That's what Mitt Romney called 47% of Americans, including people on Medicare.
For many middle-class families, Medicaid is the only way to afford the care. But as a governor, Mitt Romney raised nursing home fees 8 times. And as president, his budget cuts Medicaid by 1/3.
Joining me now, former spokesman for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Doug Thornell, and Kornblut from the Washington Post, and from the now, I guess, pro-Romney super PAC or pro-Republican super PAC, American Crossroads, Jonathan Collegio, who is also a former press secretary for the National Republican Congressional Campaign Committee. So we could really wonk out on House races.
Yeah.
You want to geek out? Nobody wants to geek out on the House races. All right, and I want to put up our top 10 mark. These are the most saturated TV ad markets for the week of October 8th through the 14th. This is right now. Good old Orlando, number 1. Then followed by Norfolk, Cleveland, Denver, Toledo rounds out the top 5. So look at that. 2 Ohio's in the top 5, a Florida and a Virginia plus a Colorado. Then the bottom 5 of the top 10, Des Moines, Roanoke, Cedar Rapids, Green Bay, and Tampa. Flova, and then Colorado, Iowa, Wisconsin. Those are the 6, huh?
Those are the 6. And look, this is the map. I mean, we know the map. This is the places that we all want to visit, and the people who live there probably want to flee by now. But we've known this map from the outset, and the map hasn't changed. And I think that's one of the interesting things. Is that despite all the ups and downs, we are in this same map.
You know, Jonathan, that is an interesting point. That is that a yellow flag for Romney? He's doing well. Everything's popped for him. But, you know, the map hasn't changed.
But the map has gotten better, right? I mean, so before the debates, we were in the field with a lot of different polls. We saw it tight, much tighter than we were seeing in the national polls. Since the debate, I would expect that if he's not within the margin of error, he could be up or very close in all of those things. So I think going to the stretch, he's exactly where he needs to be. He's within striking distance.
But you're not concerned that the map's never really expanded?
Well, it's expanded to Wisconsin, right? So they got the other team off their game there. You know, we're still in North Carolina.
You wish you were in Pennsylvania and in Michigan?
We always wish we're in Pennsylvania and Michigan, right?
But Doug, he brings up a good point. Everything's moved. And, you know, so a double-digit lead that some thought the president had in Ohio is now inside the margin of error. Yes, he's still ahead by most of the accounts of private polling. But, you know, he can't afford another bad debate performance or Ohio slips.
Yeah, but, I mean, look, I don't think anyone really believed that the president was going to win Ohio by 10 points. We all, I think, at this table, and most people who follow this race know that it was going to be close. And the president still is leading in Ohio. And the fact is the people in Ohio know Mitt Romney. He's spent a lot of time there, and he's campaigned there a lot. He had the best performance of his life last week, and he's still not closed. And he's closed the gap a little bit, but he hasn't led yet.
In fact, what is the test? I was just going to say, this is Romney's best week. First bounce that he got, if he arguably major bounce, didn't get one after he got the nomination convention. This is the first big bounce. If he's not leading in a state at the end of this week, is that a state he can't win?
I don't know.
Is that a fair way to look at it, or no?
I think that he's defining the narrative this week. Just by virtue of the fact that he came in, that they're focused on Big Bird, and he said, we're going to talk about foreign policy this week. We have the hearing on the Hill on Libya this week. I think that he's controlling the debate. They're in reaction mode, and I think he's very, very well positioned.
Well, that's a good point, but I'd like to see how enduring this bounce is. And, you know, let's give it a week out and see if it's still there. Let's see if it's still there after the vice presidential debate. I mean, he had a really great 90 minutes. I think it is surprising that the president could lose so much ground after just a 90-minute appearance.
I think it shows you he was not maybe as strong as you know.
Exactly, but
things were closer than they appear in the.
I want to see it after a little more time.
Doug, Big Bird. Too much focus on Big Bird?
Well, look, this is I think the ad reflects what the point that Mitt Romney was asked about what programs he would cut during the debate. He could name Obama and PBS. PBS accounts for less than half of 1%. That's it. He has not been forthright with the American people on what he is going to.
But do you think it was sort of have a little fun with Big Bird, 24, 48 hours, but 6 days later?
I think it's funny that Mitt Romney has been running a campaign for 18 months and he has basically not been forthright with the the American people on what programs he's going to cut to pay for his $5 trillion tax plan.
Hang on. Going to have a break so we can talk more on the other side. Trivia, we asked how many vice presidents are alumni of Center College in Danville, Kentucky. Ann loves when I do this to her. Can you name them?
Oh, I just had it. I had it and I lost.
Believe it or not, it's 2. Wow. John C. Breckinridge, who was the youngest vice president in history, and Grover Cleveland's first vice president, the first Adlai E. Stevenson, whose grandson, of course, would go on to become the Democratic nominee for president in 1952 and 1956. Do you have a political trivia question that should be on the show? Email us at dailyrundown@msnbc.com. Hey, folks in Danville, we'll see you tomorrow. We'll be right back.
Every girl wants you to be her man, but I'll wait, my dear. Carpets 70% off. Hardwood.